I now recognize Representative Maria Salazar, the gentlelady from Florida. Miss Salazar is the daughter of Cuban exiles, a 5-time Emmy Award journalist, and is the only U.S. Spanish language journalist to have ever interviewed Fidel Castro. It's a pleasure to have you before our committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My pleasure to be here and for allowing me to participate in this very important hearing. Trading has always been one of the strongest competitive advantages of our country because of the size of our economy and the dynamism of our marketplace. We foster capitalism, we embrace democracy, and we export our moral values. But unfortunately, at this hour, we're not the only ticket in the hemisphere. We have watched China aggressively enter both established and emerging markets. We, the United States, were motivated to trade for profits, but the Chinese, because they're communists, are motivated to acquire power. We have seen their tactics, offering low-quality goods, utilizing slave labor, and destroying the environment. Let me tell you, in the last 20 years, they have secured a very robust presence in Latin America through a Trojan horse strategy that has become the #1 trading power in the region. I'm going to repeat it to you. Did you hear me? Our hemisphere is being invaded by China, and they are now the #1 trading power in the region. 20 years ago, they traded $12 billion. 20 years later, last year, they hit $450 billion. That is a 3,000% increase, 3,000% increase. Right now, China has free trade agreements with Chile, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Peru, and another one with Uruguay is on the way. South America, specifically in South America, they have surpassed the United States as the top trading partner. We're talking about the Chinese are the top trading partners in South America. 10 years from now, China's trade with Latin America will be $700 billion. That is trade, not loans. In the last 20 years, China has lent almost $150 billion to the region. And of course, not only that, they are lending money, but they're helping our enemies, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. 21 Latin American countries have signed into China's nefarious Belt and Road Initiative. Today, they control key ports in Peru, railroads in Argentina, airports in Honduras, dams in Ecuador, and critical rare earth materials in Bolivia. This is a major security risk for the United States. Needless to say, they're bad actors with bad intentions. We are the opposite. But I have good news, and that's the reason why I'm here today. It's called the Americas Act. And what does it do? It puts the United States of America back on top. It sends the message to every Latin American country that I have visited personally as a news reporter. If you play by the rules, if you fight political corruption, and if you reduce your dependence on China, you will join, you, meaning Latin American country, you will join what is called the gold standard of international trade, called USMCA. Mexico has it, Canada has it, you could have it too. I'm honored to have worked with the creator of this monumental legislation, Senator Bill Cassidy. Our intention is to unleash unprecedented prosperity throughout the region. And the bill has 5 pillars: trade and partnership. You, Latin American country, will have the opportunity to join the United States, Mexico, and Canada in a free trade agreement with all its benefits and have access to $60 billion in investment capital from the United States. Nearshoring and reshoring. The bill creates a program to help American industries relocate from China either back to the United States or to any other country in our hemisphere. There will be loans, grants, and tax incentives to help companies move back home. Number 3, strategic investments. Those $60 billion that I just mentioned will create an unbreakable supply chain from Patagonia in Argentina to Alaska in the United States to make sure we're not dependent on China any longer. Let's suppose we get another COVID, God permit it will not happen, but we will have antibiotics. We will not have to be depending on the Chinese. In addition, we will get cheap, affordable energy coming from our hemisphere partners, whether it will be Guyana or Ecuador or Texas. It doesn't matter. It's in our hemisphere. Transparency and rule of law, number 4. For our neighbors, we will make it easy to do business with you in a clean, transparent, non-corrupt way. In other words, the American way. To give confidence to the American business sector that you can invest and it will be secured. You invest in Latin America. In other words, accountability will be guaranteed. And finally, we're going to be promoting American values. We're going to establish the American University of the Americas to promote United States values and increase educational opportunities to the Latin Americas. If we employ this framework, we will win the trade war in our backyard. But if, on the contrary, we sit back, we will watch Mandarin replace English, and English will not be spoken in Latin America any longer. Finally, with this legislation, Senator Cassidy, myself, and the United States Congress will be sending a very clear message to our neighbors in the hemisphere. We want to work with you as much as you want to work with us. Hispanics, Latin Americans prefer the Americans over the Russians or the Chinese any day of the year. Now it's up to Latin Americans to behave accordingly so they can be part of the club of the top economic players. I look forward to work with you, Mr. Chairman, in making this legislation a reality and being able to stop the situation we have at the border, because we need to keep those Latin American boys and girls home. I thank you very much for the opportunity, and you back.
Thank you, Congresswoman, for being here today. It is a priority of this hemisphere in regards to trading partners. That's why my very first congressional delegation that I led as chairman was to Mexico, Ecuador, and Guyana, because it's extremely important of our presence and to continue to grow. Your numbers that you gave in regards to China increasing 3,000% is unacceptable, and we have to do something as a Congress to address that. So thank you for being here.
And I do want to say that Latin Americans would do business with the Americans at any time, any place, over the Chinese and the Russians. And I know it very well. And I thank you for the opportunity and to put this together.
Thank you.